Welcome back, you guys. Tonight we have a fix-it build. This is going to be a very interesting build overall. We have a lot of damage done to an M&P 9mm 2.0 slide. Customer reached out to me. They'd seen that I had done a couple fix-it builds already. They said, is there a way you can salvage this? What is your thoughts, your opinions on it? We had a phone call. We really talked it over. They shipped me the slide. I looked at it and I was like, ugh. So, I mean, I didn't have a whole lot to say other than it's rough. Let's briefly talk about the work that's already on the slide so we get a better understanding of what we're trying to clean up and correct as we're doing the work. And first and foremost, I want to tell you guys that we're doing a fix-it build. So what that means is we have to work around the stuff that's already on the slide. The damage has already been done to the slide. So it comes out being one of those things where it's not as easy as working with a factory slide where we know depths, we know sizes, we know the angles, we know, all the kind of details that is the same from slide to slide to slide, because a brand new slide or even a used slide, is all the same. All those features seem to be the same. But in this particular case, we've got some issues. We're going to be running and trying to do some corrections over some of the stuff that's already been done here. So definitely gonna be an interesting journey, without a doubt. This this scares me. That area right there is just that's kind of makes me a little nervous, and that's aggressive. So obviously we have some work that's been done to the back zone here. I think the approach that whoever did this was a fairly decent approach. Obviously this was done with a manual mill, wasn't done with a CNC. They didn't go deep enough to remove all the waves out. They ended up trying to do somewhat of a correction with a file on here, which I can, I feel they're paying there. I can see where they're at. Overall, they're pretty aggressive. They really are. And quite honestly, with a little bit of cleanup, they can probably be salvaged and not look quite as bad as they do right now. So with that being said, we're going to be doing just that. We're going to be salvaging the back zone. We're not going to be doing any CNC work over these. We're going to do our best to just do what would be a correction on that and make those, aesthetically pleasing and something that just doesn't look as rough. So we're going to see what we can do with that. The front zone won't be too bad. We're going to run a new chamfer on here. This was obviously done by hand with some sort of a file. You can see that there's a couple different layers of tone here. So they came in at one angle, they left at another angle. It's kind of just one of those deals where that's pretty rough. I think that once again, they might have had a halfway decent idea of what they were maybe after. I just don't know what that idea was. So with that being said, we're gonna correct that. We're gonna narrow that down and iron that out. It's gonna look proportional like it's supposed to. It's gonna look nice and symmetrical like it is. And now we have the front grips here, and I just don't know about this. I don't know what to say about this. It's pretty nerve-wracking to see how deep they are down in here. I took some measurements off of it, and according to my measurements, I just don't know how they haven't hit the channel already inside. If they haven't hit it, and I've looked, I haven't seen any punctures, but it's one of those deals where it's like you've got to be as close as you can be without being there. if that makes sense, if that maybe comes out the best way as I can say that. But at the end of the day, we're going to do our best to salvage this. Now, one of the things to take into consideration with this is that they didn't just try to come straight down into here. Actually, this bottom part is actually curved in more. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, see how these are slanted, right? If we can see that a little bit better, these are sloped in. They attempted to do the same thing on the front here, and to cover up what would be your factory little cuts here that pretty much no one uses that I know of. And they tried to kind of get rid of those, and they came in at an angle, and that's why when you look through here, you can kind of see jagged, and then this is deeper. We're going to do our best to salvage that. I think we're going to end up coming in with a probably an end mill, straight in, straight down, something like you'd see on the rear section of a Glock, higher, lower, quite flat. And I don't think we're gonna fix this. As this is down in here, right in here, I don't think we're gonna actually be able to fix that because it's at an angle and that's the lowest point. I will do my best to achieve the overall satisfaction that we're after and what we're after with the customer, but I just don't know how much I'm going to be able to salvage on this. I'm going to do my absolute best without trying to destroy the slide while we're doing it. Right now, it just happens to be that it's right on the break it thing, right? You know, we're packing so much material on this truck that eventually we're going to break it, and that's kind of where we are now. Is we're playing with some dangered zones here. We have some additional work that we're going to be doing on the slide as well that we're not going to be salvaging. It's just some work that we're going to be doing. We're going to do 3 raptor cuts. Those raptor cuts are going to take place closer to the front, so they're going to be kind of in this zone. Usually when we do raptor cuts, they're kind of in the big zone. We're going to stack those up a little closer to the front. They're going to come down and they're going to end somewhere about in the middle. And we're not going to come in and hit the M&P. We want to salvage the M&P. So we're going to come down through the side. We're going to salvage the M&P right there. And then we're going to do a little window from here to here, but I shouldn't say a window. It's more of a step down. It's a cleanup. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a sloped, see if I can get my Sharpie out here for you. How's that sound? We're going to do a sloped design that's going to come kind of like up through here. And it's just going to basically remove the text there. And then, of course, we're going to come right straight over and do the same thing on this side. So you're going to be something like this. Now, once again, that's not going to be a window. That's just going to be a step down in order to remove the text on what would be the right side. It will match the left side so it's symmetrical. We'll have our raptor cuts somewhere up in this zone. I don't know the 100% the size of the raptor cuts or how far they'll come from where would be your front iron sight this way. I'll have to take a look and see exactly how far that is. We may have to do some appropriate spacing or choose a different ball nose, something that's a little bit smaller but still achieve what we're after. So we're going to see what we come up with on that. But that's kind of the extra work that we're going to be doing. Guys, what we're going to do now is we're going to get over to the Tormach 770. We're going to go ahead and start the work. I'm not 100% sure how it's going to come out, so we'll just see what we come up with. Alright guys, let's take a look and see exactly how this came out as our salvaged build. Now I went ahead and added my polished barrel and my factory FDE frame. Wanted to show you what the Glock was versus the factory one. Overall, I'm really liking that. But the idea is to give you a better visual of what we have going on here by seeing in a complete firearm instead of just seeing a slide. Let's talk about the rear sections in the back first. Definitely looks better than it did. Without a doubt, there were some issues here. The wavy serrations weren't cut off quite far enough, and in the end that ended up being one of the issues where you could still kind of see them. I did my best at doing a correction on them so that way it looked the part, and I think overall we kind of got there. Definitely pleased with the way that it is. It looks right now that it's a little bit of a two-tone, but actually it was inside, so there's a little bit of condensation built up on here. So very pleased with it. I think it's presentable now. I think it doesn't look like somebody butchered and mutilated it. Overall, I'm very pleased with the way that those rear sections came out. And they're aggressive. You know, it's one of those things, I don't offer that as a service, but it was kind of nice to be able to see that because it kind of gave me the idea of what my customers are talking about. Sometimes they're like, hey, do you do this or do you do that? Do you offer this? And I can kind of now get a better visual because I've had one in hand and I can feel that on my hand. So definitely overall pleased with having the ability to see that and correct it. So that was kind of a win-win. We ended up doing the top raptor cuts up here, and we do these a little bit more shallow, and they end up looking like a little bit of a teardrop in there. We're going to get you guys some pictures to be able to see it a little better. They do not come very far down onto the side. These are a very shallow raptor cut. Okay, so some of these come way down on the side. They really open up the side. Sometimes they hit the text. It depends on which style you're after. This happens to be the shallow one. I do like them. Overall, they're very, very nice. They just look really, really good. So the other deal is we went ahead and stripped off our text on what would be the right-hand side. So we've got one of those little simulated non-windows that's there. Very cool. I like that. It kind of doesn't go up too far into where the raptor cuts are, just a little bit into there. And then of course we matched it up on this side. This side looks really nice because it matches the M&P 9 pretty nicely right there. And we didn't hit the text. That was one of the issues I was kind of worried about, is how far do we have to actually come forward in order to get rid of this but actually not hit this. So there's always a fine line you have to walk without damaging something, but you're after something, right? So we're after the correction of something and we're trying to stay away from causing another problem. So sometimes those tolerances can be pretty tight. Now let's talk about the serration. So what you're gonna find is that this side was not done, right? And then this side was the butchered side. Let's start with the butchered side. Overall, I'm very pleased with the way that it came out. I think I have masked it very, very well. I was very nervous on how deep we could go without actually hitting the channel. Took a lot of measurements. It was one of those like measure 18.5 times and cut like one time and hold your breath while you're cutting. Because it was like I know my measurement says that we're good, but until I see that, like physically see that, it's very hard to have faith in that, because you know there's a channel in there and you know it's close. Kind of at the end of this project, I really liked the way that it came out. Obviously we had to work around some damage that was already there. We did our best to do a cleanup. I ended up recontouring most of the cut ones so they looked pretty squarish. I guess that's the best way to say that. Obviously they're lower than what the normal ones would be. Your one on the front and the first and last are full size, because I extended my pattern left to right farther so that way it wouldn't it would blend a little bit better, and we would actually be able to see some real flat in there. Definitely pleased with the way it came out. Now, of course, this is the true side. So this is the side that was not touched. Overall, I'm very pleased with it. You can obviously still see a portion of where the selector, I'm sorry, I'm lying to you, where the takedown lever flips. So you can still see a little bit of that. That's cut pretty deep. And then you can still see a little bit of a cutout in those two. I'm not disappointed in the way in which it came out. I'm really not. I know that it was one of those tasks that we had to work through some issues, because we were working around this, and then we had to match it to this. So it just kind of came out being one of those deals where sometimes you have to do things in order to fix a problem, and we're going to make the best of it. And at the end of this project, I'm very pleased with the overall aesthetics of the slide. I think I did an absolute amazing job at the correction on this. I think if I had more time to do it over, now that I've seen what this looks like cut, I might have made a couple different changes. But until you have gone down the path of correction and not hit the channel and things like that, it comes out being one of those things that, like, you only know what you know until you've done the cut work and you have it in hand, right? So it's easy to look at it and say, man, I would have done this, or maybe I would have done that, right? But there was no way you could come to that conclusion if you didn't have something in your hand. So that's kind of one of the things that I'm at right now. I definitely like the way that this comes pretty far up into here. It's kind of interesting the way that it cuts through the curve and it still stays on that curve there. I could maybe see myself doing a pretty deep pattern down through the side here. I think it's pretty cool overall. I'm not sure if I would stay away from this this lever or not, but at the end, I'm pretty pleased with it. Guys, highly recommend, go back and watch some of our old content. We've done some other, fix-it builds. We've done some other crazy builds. We've done some other designs that people have had in their head that we needed to execute onto the slide. We've built some stuff that no one's ever seen before, done before, and to date has even tried to duplicate. So that tells you one thing right there, that we're kind of off the beaten path. Let me know if you need anything. Okay, on the contacts tab on our webpage, there's a form. Fill it out. Let me know what you got going on there, and we'll figure out exactly what we got to do to get your project turned out. Instagram's the place to be. You're probably going to find a lot of the damage pictures. You're going to get a lot of those notifications from Instagram. Ring the bell. If you haven't ring the bell on your YouTube page, then you're technically not getting your notifications. So you don't really know what's going on. You may be a subscriber, but you don't know when the new videos come out. So right next to where you've subscribed, it says subscribed right there in red. click on the little bell, and that'll turn your notifications on. That'll let you know whenever we have a new video that comes out, so you'll be able to see that new content. Feel free to reach out to me, definitely, with whatever you guys have, even if it's just a question about something. Maybe you're just curious if it can be done, should be done, shouldn't be done. Reach out to me. Let me know what's going on, and sometimes I can give you, you know, a real solid opinion with some facts behind it that no, we should not do this, and this is why. Or yes, that's probably a really cool idea. No one's ever done that before. So I seem to have a lot of knowledge rolling around in my head because I've done a lot of projects. So that's kind of one of the advantages of using me, is that I happen to have a proven track record of success for what we've done, not just on locks, but on a lot of different things. So there's definitely a lot of value in reaching out to me just to let me know what you have going on. Guys, I will talk with you on the next one. We've got another fix-it build coming up right after this one, and it's pretty interesting. So I think you're going to enjoy the next build video that's coming out. It'll come out here in just a couple of days. Have a good one.